have quoted. Um, but they've lost 1 trillion in stock market value. Companies like Nvidia, Microsoft, Intel, they've all lost significant amount of value. And there's been
When
recent.
you say value side, because I know you're the expert on this, and I wouldn't now, if you ask me about a stock market, I'd probably be looking at cows and sheep and stuff. Yeah, but yeah, go on. How much money are we looking at here?
Well, again, it's not real tangible value that we would consider, because there's no actual real cash moving around or real value in the real world being moved around. This is like figures on a balance sheet on a computer screen. The market prices of these stocks can go up and down, and it's almost sort of like a psychological measure of confidence, isn't it? A stock price. It doesn't necessarily reflect the intrinsic value of a company, the net asset value, the profit and loss, or the cash flow. What it maybe demonstrates is the market's sentiment and perception of the potential future value that company can generate. And obviously, when there's more risk in the air, people become risk averse. They will sell a stock. So that is probably what is going on. People are very uncertain at the moment. There's a
Yeah.
perception of increased risk with the Pandora's box that Donald Trump has opened in the Middle East.
Oh, you mean the Epstein files?
Well,
That was
some would say that the
sorry.
Epstein files is what he's trying to distract from, because obviously there's
Yeah.
rumors of his name being in there. Somebody said his name is in the Epstein files more than the name Jesus is in the Bible. So basically,
Okay.
he's very intrinsically linked with this ring of elite, extremely bad, sinful people, and we can't really go into it. It's a daytime radio show, but it's showing there's consequences for people in this country who've been linked with the Epstein files, like Peter Mandelson, someone very close to Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister.
Who's that?
Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, a
Yeah.
member of the royal family.
Yeah.
So it's having serious consequences in Europe, but in America, it seems that there don't seem to be any checks and balances on the leader of the country there.
Yeah, that is a bit scary, and we will touch on that because we'll touch on that because the first part of the show is our normal stuff about football because we're both big football fans. The second half we're going to be into. Raj is going to be talking to us about IT, and some interesting stuff going on there. We might touch on AI, and then the final part we're going to be talking a little bit about. What's going on in the world with Iran and the money spent and the fact that I was called an Uncle Tom the other day on TikTok, and then eventually the guy turned around and said, "I'm really sorry." When I was talking about facts, and what my biggest bugbear is, Zaid?
Go on, tell us.
Potholes.
Oh my lord,
Uh,
you're gonna start a pothole direct action group, aren't you?
I think we should. I think we should.
Because people have been talking about potholes for absolutely like decades, as far as I can remember. People complain about potholes. Nothing ever seems to get done about potholes, and I think we need to realise that, especially when it's basically a council issue, we
Yeah.
can bang our head against the brick wall that is the council. But we have to recognise that they, in themselves, have very limited powers vis-a-vis the central government. So central government have been reducing the amount they give to local government on a very significant basis over the last 15, 16 years, since austerity really started to come into the agenda following the global financial crisis of 2008, 2009. So central government have been taking money away from local government. They've had to be more creative about how they generate revenue. They've had to be more creative about how they allocate money between different departments. They've had to outsource a lot of their requirements. and there's only a certain amount of revenue generating capacity that the councils have. They can only raise council taxes by, I think it's 5% without a referendum.
Have you had your council tax bill come through?
I did. I was shocked.
It's shocking. What is going on?
Well, as I said, basically,
Two bags. Just to put it out there for everybody else, 2 bags is £2,000. I looked at it, and it's shocking. Absolute shocking. If we are paying £2,000 a year for bin collections,
and
And what?
potholes, and probably paying the salaries of council employees. Things like, I don't know, housing benefit and other benefits as well. I mean, there's some going into the pension funds of council employees and beneficiaries of the pension fund, people who previously worked for the council. So there's a lot of money going into services. Whether it's being allocated correctly is open to question. And I think maybe someone, if they're knowledgeable about that issue, they should ring in or text in and tell us what their thoughts on it are.
And Zahid just said ring in or text in. WhatsApp messages 07440 420 432. And if you want to give us a call and get involved with our conversation, the phone number is 01 902 972 150. Am I allowed to send a message out to somebody today?
I don't know, depends what the message is.
Happy birthday to my wife today.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's allowed.
Yeah, she's 50 today, so happy birthday. I know it's Ramadan, but it is what it is.
We're in between International Women's Day, which was last Sunday, I believe, 8th of March, and Mother's Day, which is next weekend, isn't it? So this is the right time.
Yeah, so good on her. She does well. So I thought I'd mention that because I might not get anything for iftari. No, I'm only joking. I'm only joking. Okay, let's get back to the football. And Wolves the week before beat Liverpool, and they deserved to win. I watched the game, but in the FA Cup match, Zahid, what happened?
I just want to preface our discussion today about sports ball by, did you see what Andrew Tate said about people who talk about sports ball?
What did he say?
He was very dismissive of people who talk about sports ball. So here we go. We're going to talk about sports ball.
Well, Andrew Tate, I mean, what does he waffle on about?
He is a very divisive figure within the manosphere. I don't know whether
he's a billionaire, isn't he?
I think millionaire, but he's fallen out with some of his fellow members of the manosphere this week. I don't know whether you know about the tiff that is going on between him and Sneeko.
Who's Sneeko?
So
is that a pair of trainers?
Sneeko is one of these young men who is one of the young up-and-coming influencers in the manosphere. I think he's a Kick streamer or Twitch streamer or something. One of these sort of streamers. He's got a very big following amongst young people. And they had a bit of a falling out, and there's been all sorts of abuse going this way and that way on social media between those two figures.
So Sneeko's Nicholas Kendi Balinthesi, known online as Sneeko, is an American videographer, political commentator, and social media personality. He gained prominence through YouTube, where he posted. Let's have a look what he's done. What's he posted? He posted commentary videos and street interviews. He's been banned from multiple social media platforms. Okay, I'm not. Look, the thing is, there was a female actress years ago called Marilyn Monroe, and she said, any publicity is good publicity, right? So this guy, Andrew Tate, his background is self-defense, isn't he, or martial arts. He's been a bit of a fighter, hasn't he? Right, and he likes having a fight. And I think what it is he's been out the social media for a little while, and this is an opportunity for him to get back in. So Sneeko has basically turned around and given him the opportunity to get famous again. I mean, this is clever. I tell you what, this Andrew Tate, I do sometimes watch and listen to him when he's on social medium. Media, sorry, medium. He's a medium. Media. He's a very clever guy, and he knows how. He knows how to get on. You know what I mean?
Part of the dispute, or part of it is personal. There's personal issues between them, but part of it has revolved around what is going on in the world at the moment with regards to the political situation. So Andrew Tate is based in Dubai or the United Arab Emirates. He's very supportive of that particular regime, and I think Sneeko was making some comments about the fact that basically Andrew Tate was a sellout for siding with that particular regime in the wider political, geopolitical matters that are going on in the Middle East at the moment.
I mean, look, this week I was on a TikTok phone. You know when you call in and whatever. It's not a phone in, but you can request as a guest. And they were talking about borders and blocking, borders and this kind of stuff. So I wasn't sure whether it was a reform kind of a TikTok. But the actual guy, it was men for change. So I went on and I became one of the guests, and I was talking about, what was going on. And I said, and this is my opinion, so I've got my own opinion, my entitled opinion. Aren't I, Raj? Yeah. And I said that we've spent £21 billion on this BS war in Ukraine. We got potholes coming out of our ears. The NHS is failing. Education isn't great in this country. Leadership isn't great in this country. Why don't we put that money back into that? And somebody said, "Oh, what about Iran?" I said, "What about Iran? What's the UK got to do with Iran? Why don't they just stay out of it and mind their own business? Why don't they keep the money in the country?" And somebody on that panel turned around and says, "Your Uncle Tom." And I says, "Okay, explain to me why." He goes, "Yeah, but you're a Muslim, blah, blah, blah." So by the end of that call, by the end of that TikTok, he apologized and said, "Okay, I get now what you're trying to say." Because people will always see another side to a story that they think suits their, status or their, or their agenda. But by the end of that conversation, things change, right? So what I'm really trying to say is that it depends on who's listening and what their agenda is,
Yeah, I sort of tackled this issue in my lecture yesterday during my Ramadan Ruminations lecture. I talked about epistemology. So epistemology is the philosophy of understanding science or knowledge and how we know what we know. So I brought up the situation of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was an Arab of the Quraysh living in Mecca, and when he spoke to the idolatrous pagan Arabs, because he was bringing something which was outside of their understanding, outside of their lived experience, outside of their existing traditions, they would not listen to him, even though they understood him to be a trustworthy figure.
They knew that, Alameen.
They and a Sadiq, the trustworthy, the truthful. They knew him. They'd known him for 40 years, but they wouldn't accept his message when he came to them. And it took the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam going to Medina, a different tribe of Arabs, and actually a place where there were lots of Jewish tribes, for him to receive a good and open hearing, because their knowledge or background of knowledge and tradition that understood the monotheistic Abrahamic tradition, which was seen as foreign to the pagan Quraysh Arabs. So you see, everybody has different lived experience. Everybody comes to know things through different lens and perspective. We have to try to understand where people are coming from. And I think that guy who originally called you an Uncle Tom, he probably misunderstood where you were coming from. You had to explain that to him, or he had to come to know or see things from your perspective. So I think that's a very important thing, that people are getting their eyes opened to a lot of things with what
They
is
are.
going on to the Middle East. I mean,
They are.
a lot of people who are within the Trump coalition, the MAGA right, Make America Great Again right, people like Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, um, uh, a lot of these sort of right wing figures in the United States, Marjorie Taylor Greene, they were like very much pro Trump. They believed in him when he said, I will not go to war. I will not go to war with Iran. We've had enough of these silly wars where we spend a lot of money on wars overseas. We should spend money on making America great again, America first. And now they're calling him out and they're saying, why are you going against your own statements?
Because he has to protect himself with the e-files and what he used to do with young girls. He used to R young girls, and this is the problem, you know. And unfortunately, I haven't. I just said a letter. You know, people who are listening can obviously understand what's going on. But this is the situation with this guy. He's a complete animal, and
Complete, yeah, beast.
he's a beast, an animal. And
Could
listen,
he be Dajjal?
I think he is. Honestly, that's it. Earlier when you were talking about it, if you look at his eye, right, and you see the way he behaves, he does behave like a Dajjal. I'm telling you, and I think,
Should we just explain what Dajjal is for anyone who's unaware?
yeah, the Dajjal is a being that the Prophet peace be upon him, Hazrat Muhammad Musa Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, talked about to say that he would be at the end of time and he would be the Antichrist. So he would be the Christ for us is Hazrat Isa Alayhi Salam, who will come back, and the opposite to him, the Antichrist, would be Dajjal. And according to Islamic scriptures, the Dajjal will be killed by Hazrat Isa Alayhi Salam with a spear. Right, so this is definitely the case, and earlier on, this phenomenal how this is why we're Z squared. As soon as you started talking that, the Dajjal came to my head, and I thought, is this Trump Dajjal?
Well, there's this guy called Professor Jiang who has gained a lot of popularity on social media recently. I just checked out his YouTube channel. It's called Predictive History. He's got 1.9 million subscribers on YouTube. That is a very significant platform he has. And he's sort of made that jump now onto places like Twitter and I think TikTok as well. And what Professor Jiang has been talking about is eschatology. Eschatology is sort of end time stories. And what he's been looking at is how a lot of end time prophecies from Jewish traditions, Christian traditions, Zoroastrian traditions, Islamic traditions, they all have some similar elements and convergence. And so he's been making some very interesting predictions, very horrifying predictions actually,
Yeah.
because they involve, potentially nuclear wars, the destruction of Al-Aqsa Mosque and things like that. So he's a very interesting person to follow. He actually teaches in Beijing in China, and obviously China is a big upcoming civilizational force. And it'll be interesting how they play their part in geopolitics in the coming years and decades. But if Professor Jiang is someone who has influence on that particular culture and that particular geopolitical dynamic, it'll be interesting how he informs how China influences global geopolitics as it becomes a stronger and stronger economic force.
Yeah, you know what? This doctor is Dr. Jiang?
Professor Jiang.
Professor Jiang. He's obviously a very clever guy. What I will say to you is that I'm, as you probably know, you're Sunni and I'm Shia, right? But we're still working together. There's no issues.
Absolutely.
But I've put a spanner in the works with the family I have just recently.
Oh dear.
Okay, so the spanner in the works is, and I want to ask you because your knowledge on Islam is fairly decent. Yeah, how many sects was there during the time of the Prophet peace be upon him, the best of creations?
I'm not aware of any.
There
sects.
was none.
There was none.
Since the passing of the best of creations, we've got 73 sects in Islam.
Okay.
According to Hadith, right? That this is what was going to happen. And I said to the family, I said, if you look at scholars, when they argue about anything, it's always over fiqh. It's never over the Quran because you can't, can you? Because the word of God is the
Hmm.
word of God, isn't it? And I think what all Muslims need to do out there is, if anybody's listening to me, is let's get back to basics. And if we have to start again and just follow the Quran.
To be honest, I'm seeing a lot on social media now. A lot of people saying, "I'm Sunni," but I've come to realize that yeah, we shouldn't be having any sort of Sunni Shia conflict, and it's all manufactured by people who want to divide and rule. It was
But Zaid, can I just stop you there? That's a magnificent point. If that was the case, if we didn't have any fix and we were all one and we all went to one mosque and we prayed behind the one Molana or scholar, whatever you want to call it, there would not be any infiltration from these individuals causing problems because we would have one thing. Now, divide and rule is been around for centuries, hasn't it?
Hmm.
Right? And I just believe that we need to all Muslims need to get back to basics. Forget this Sunni and Shia thing, yeah,
Yeah,
and just follow the Quran and say, that we are just Muslims.
absolutely.
You know,
I did start my lecture this week by illustrating the example of Muhammad ibn Musa al Khwarizmi. Now, you, as a maths teacher, probably know who Muhammad bin ibn Musa al Khwarizmi was. He
Y-
was the father of algebra,
yeah, yeah, definitely.
and he was a Persian, and
He was a Persian.
he was in the he was a scientist, mathematician who was active in the House of Wisdom in 9th century Baghdad under the Caliphate of Al Mamun, and he actually came up with the whole concept of algebra and popularized it,
I love algebra.
and he has given his name, Al Khwarizmi, the Latinized version, to algorithms. And we know algorithms are so important in TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and all these things. And also in things like Iron Dome, in mapping the trajectory of missiles
Can
and things like that. So it's amazing that this man was the beginning of all this in Persia.
guys, we've got about 10 seconds left. Um, we're going to go on a break for how long,
Six
Raj?
minutes.
6 minutes, and we'll come back and we'll be with Raj. So please stick with us. Me and Zaid aren't going anywhere. So God bless. Assalamu alaikum. Hello there. It's Zahid Shah or Sunny Shah on TikTok and
Zahid Ali.
Zahid Ali. This is Z Squared. And we're on Iman 1. Please don't all rush to send us WhatsApp messages. 07440 420 432 01902 972 150. As I said earlier on, a big out to Cash and the boys at Whitchurch, and a big out to the boys at St George's as well. Good cricket season coming up, so good luck to the boys. St George's looking to win the league, and my youngest lad will be playing there, so that's a big one out to the boys. We were talking about football, and Zaid, you and I always get sidetracked. Wolves game back against Liverpool, they got absolutely hammered. I can't believe it was the same team that played Liverpool a week before. 3-1.
I think they kept it to a 0-0 at half time, similar to the first match, the league match.
Yeah.
But then I think what happened was Liverpool scored on the break.
Good goal.
It was a very good goal by, was it Robertson?
Yeah.
A very good goal from outside the area.
I don't rate Robertson, but he scored a good goal.
It's fantastic. A very, very good strike. And then I think Wolves had to sort of open up to try to get back a goal, and they became a bit too sort of stretched.
Prescriptive, yeah.
And
They did, didn't they?
Liverpool were able to hit them on the break 2 more times, and they scored 2 more goals. It was 3-0. The Wolves got a late consolation through Hwang.
Good goal.
Right. It was fine.
Yeah.
It was basically Route 1 football. It's disappointing. A lot of Wolves fans did want to go on a cup run this season, but as it turned out, Liverpool in the subsequent draw for the quarterfinals have drawn Manchester City away. So basically, Liverpool's cup run is probably going to come to an end.
I don't think it will, actually, because I think Man City's European Cup run's come to an end, doesn't it?
Well, you say that, but prior to that, Liverpool went to Istanbul
I knew
to
you
play
were
Galatasaray, and former Wolves captain Mario Lemina scored for Galatasaray against Liverpool.
Do you know what's the game? Do you know Liverpool were lucky? Did you see it?
Yeah, I saw it. They were attacking a lot, the Galatasaray. On the home patch, they're a very good team.
They are. I think when they come to Anfield, they'll get hammered, right? Because
they've got a couple of really good players. Like, they've got Osimhen, Yildiz, is it? Obviously Lamina, he's a very competent player.
Well, I tell you what, their striker, did you see him?
Osimhen.
Yeah, the jump in the air. He was like about 10 foot taller than everybody else when he headed the ball.
Yeah, there was a lot of Man United were coveting him back in the day, and they were talking about 80, 90 million pound transfer. I think he would do amazingly well in the Premier League.
He would. I think he would. And I tell you what, I'm going to be very frank. If you can play at Galatasaray and the fans can cheer your name, that's a lot of pressure. That's more pressure than anywhere in world football. I can't see any more pressure than that. They are really intense. I mean, the hooliganism in Turkey is just phenomenal from what I've been told.
I went to watch Wolverhampton Wanderers in Istanbul against Besiktas in the Europa League, and I have to say, their crowd is the loudest crowd I've ever heard. It was so intimidating, just like when they were like singing.
You were there?
I was in Istanbul for that match, and it was a very intimidating atmosphere in the ground.
Mind you probably got away with it because you look a bit Turkish.
Well, the funny thing happened. We were being kettled by the Turkish police as we were on our way to the Besiktas Stadium.
Yeah.
And some of you who know me will know that I have a certain look. Basically, I'm bald and I have a beard. And
you look Turkish.
So
I think that's your new name now,
listen
Turkish.
To this. But the Wolves fans who were being kettled, they started singing at me, "Nuno, Nuno, sing the song." So they thought I was like Nuno, or looked like Nuno. So I used to get that a lot when I was going to Wolves matches, and obviously Nuno was the manager at the time.
A good manager as well. Listen, City are in trouble. They've lost 3-0. Can they come back with? It's going to be difficult, isn't it, mate?
On home territory, I think they have the team who can come back. But it's good. It's an uphill struggle against Real Madrid. I mean, Trent Alexander-Arnold was saying he thought, or a lot of people thought, that Real Madrid would lose or get thrashed by Man City. And so to win 3-0 was pretty incredible, really. And a hat-trick by Valverde. Well
Yeah.
taken goals, well taken goals.
Where was the game again?
It was at the Bernabeu.
Okay, so 3-0. But remember Liverpool a few years ago when they came back and won 4-3 against Barcelona
They've
with
always
Messi.
got that potential, yeah.
There is that potential, and it'll be interesting to see. The other game that I watched was Chelsea and Paris Saint-Germain, and 2-all.
5-2, wasn't it?
Well, it's shocking. 2-all at 80 minutes. My youngest son and his mate Ayan, a big one out to Zach and Ayan, support Chelsea, and I was watching the game up until 80 minutes. It's 2-2, and then all of a sudden, the last 15 minutes, including when I say 15, I'm talking about time added on. They conceded three goals. I mean, one of the goals was pretty awesome, but after that, it was just shocking. So I don't know. There's going to be uphill battle for all the English teams, because even for Liverpool coming back to Anfield with a 1-0 deficit against Galatasaray, it's not going to be easy because they're going to have to attack, aren't they, straight away? So it's going to be tough.
Tottenham, did you see Tottenham absolutely fall to pieces against Atletico Madrid?
What was the score?
It was 5-1, I think.
Did Arsenal win?
Arsenal drew 1-1 against Bayer Leverkusen.
But that was away, wasn't it?
But they should have lost because they won a penalty in the sort of like 89th minute, which was basically
Dubious?
a dive from, was it Madueke? I think he basically dived. I watched the slow motion. He wasn't touched, and he just like fell to the ground in the penalty box.
Must have been a good dive.
It was a good dive. It was impressive, but you look back on it on slow motion, and the defender didn't touch him. So basically, Arsenal got out of jail rather at Bayer Leverkusen. Tottenham got humiliated at Atletico Madrid. They substituted their goalkeeper, a 22-year-old, after just 17 minutes. They were 3-0 down after 17 minutes. They substituted their 22-year-old goalkeeper.
That is shocking.
Who's
the manager?
Igor Tudor.
So they've got rid of the other Thomas Frank. This Igor Tudor's come in. He's not doing much of a better job himself, is he?
No, he's lost all his games. He came in just before the North London derby, lost the North London derby.
I think that with that stadium that Tottenham have got, they should be in the Championship. I'm winding.
It would be funny if they are in the Championship with that multi-100-million-pound stadium they've built, and it's like 65,000 capacity or something. It would be really funny if they got relegated.
Well, listen, guys. We're just going to go to another element of the show. Big one out to the missus. Happy birthday, Kay. I hope you're going to have a good 50 today. I'm going to shout out big. Second part of the show is we're going to be introducing Raj. Raj is a IT. Raj, can you introduce yourself? Because you're involved in IT, and we're going to talk about IT now.
Yep, indeed. Thank you for inviting me to your show. As some of our listeners know, I already have my own show, which is going to be after this show. So we're going to merge the two together. I've been in IT a long time, probably since I was about 15 years old. And that was 50 years ago.
Wow.
I've been in IT a long time, and I've done all manner of things. I used to work for British Telecom as my first proper job. Actually, my first proper job was actually designing telephone exchanges, but I only did that for 3 months because I didn't want to go to Coventry every day. You spend all your life on trains. I then moved to British Telecom, where I was a network systems engineer. Worked there for 5 years, and then I moved to IBM, again as a network engineer, and then working on email systems and file exchange systems. And then they sold the global network of which I was a part, so I got made redundant because I was part of the global network. And then after a couple of years of break and retraining, I joined the university. So I was at the University of Wolverhampton for 19 years.
What kind of training did you do?
I wasn't a lecturer.
Okay.
I worked with businesses. So we got European funding.
Okay.
to help businesses.
So what kind of training? Because there might be some young people listening to the show and thinking, what kind of training? What kind of training did you do?
Most of my training was not at the university, as I say. My training was very intense training whilst I was at BT, British Telecom,
Okay.
and at IBM. So most of my experience is in computer networking, in global computer networking, systems automation. Most of what you learn at university, you won't see in the real world for about 10 years.
Oh no, you're right. Absolutely, it's the same thing with me and Zahid. You go to university, you do stuff, but it doesn't. Do you really use it?
I think what they teach is the sort of ability to think critically and analytically,
Absolutely. That's
and the sort of the processes of learning and adapting to situations and solving problems, rather than actual rote knowledge. So there's not so much of the banking model of education. It's more of a problem-solving, dialogical pedagogy.
Yeah, I mean, Zahid's right. And Rad, just coming back to yourself, I mean, so you lectured at the university.
Only occasionally, only when they got desperate and they needed somebody. But I'm not a lecturer. But sometimes when staff suddenly
I think you'd make a good lecturer, because lecturing isn't about it's not teaching, is it? You just go in there. You don't need to have a qualification to be a lecturer. You just need to have experience in your field, and you've got a lot of experience.
you should have experience, because that way you can make things real. You can say, well, in real life, this is how you use these things. Whereas in your examination, in your when you do your exam, theoretical, but in real life, each person who works in basically any job is a problem solver. Yep. So, for example, IBM used to have a global network,
Yeah.
and they had a problem. They needed people to run it.
Mm.
It doesn't run itself. You need
Yeah.
people to change it,
Yeah.
start it, stop it. Yeah, that's the problem. And the people solve that problem.
Yeah.
So they give you a job to say you are now a network operator.
It's learning by doing rather than just like sort of book learning. I mean, you wouldn't be able to learning to drive by just reading a book.
No.
You can't just learn to drive by reading a book or a manual of how you operate the car. You have to get out there and do it, drive the car.
That's a great example. But coming back to yourself, something me and Zahid sort of touched with you last week was AI.
Yeah.
Now,
That'll be in the next show.
that'll be the next show.
Yeah.
So we'll talk a little bit about that, because you mentioned about you got people to with networking. You get yourself. Here's the network. Go and sort it out if there's any issues. I think in the future that's going to be AI.
Maybe.
I mean, Raj, because you've been around for so long, you've probably experienced lots of different changes in the architecture of computing. So there used to be like a mainframe, then there was a client server, and now there's like maybe thin client and distributed computing and all these sort of different things going on. It's like you've seen it all.
I have seen it all, and that's my first question to you.
Okay.
Go for it. What's the question?
Which you've already started to answer. How far back can you remember computers? What's your
I
experience?
I was
and
born.
what have you?
I was born in 1974, and the first computers I remember is
ZX Spectrum.
ZX81.
ZX
Because
Spectrum.
we used to play computer games on them.
Yeah. And then you had the Commodore 64.
Commodore 64, yeah.
Yeah. So,
So,
the ZX Spectrum was first, and then one of my mates who was quite well off had a Commodore 64, and we used to go around and play games on his Commodore 64. I remember.
Right, it's
Was
called
it the ZX80 and ZX81, or am I just getting the numbers wrong?
ZX80,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then when it got better, they called it the ZX Spectrum.
Yes.
Yep, Spectrum, and it was literally like a small keyboard. The computer was inside it, and you plugged it into your TV.
Absolutely.
So you didn't need to buy a monitor. The keyboard was there. The computer was inside.
But that was great technology, though, wasn't it?
It was great technology. Yeah, it was based on a processor called the Z80.
Yes, yes, I remember that.
That was the name of the processor, And the Commodore 64 was called a Commodore 64 because it had 64,000
Bit.
bytes.
Mm.
Yeah, so a byte is 8 bits,
Yeah.
but you really need a byte to store anything useful.
Mm.
So, like the letters of the alphabet, the numbers, the
Yeah.
funny little characters, and so on, they all fit into 8 bits. And an 8 bit is called a byte, and it's a number from 0 to 255. So, for example, the letters of the alphabet, a capital A is number 65.
Right.
So inside a computer it says 65, but when you show it, it shows a capital A. Okay,
Wow.
so I alluded to that a couple of weeks ago. That's called the ASCII code.
Yeah, I've heard
So
of
the
that.
ASCII code, the American ASCII, American symbolic code for information interchange.
Wow.
ASCII, yeah. So you can only fit mainly English or Roman letters in that space. We now have something way more complicated called the bilingual. Oh God, what's this? BNP. I've forgotten what it's called now.
British
Plain.
National
There's about
Party.
six of
Right, that's the British National Party. BNP.
BMP. Yeah.
BMMM for mother.
Oh, is it
Yeah.
mother?
Multi-plane, yeah. The basic multi-plane. That might be wrong. Guessing this off the top of my head. But now, Arabic characters, Punjabi characters,
wow.
Chinese characters, they all fit into this.
Yeah.
But it doesn't fit into 1 byte. You need more than 1 byte.
Right.
So it consumes more space. Okay then. So when did the what we call computers, like
Bitmap image file. BMP.
no,
No, okay.
that's a file type for storing multilingual, basic multilingual plane is for characters across the whole world, and it can handle thousands and thousands of different types of characters. Yeah, yeah. So that's how we can now communicate in different languages,
Right.
Yeah.
and the codes under the covers are the same. So that's why when you send somebody some information from one computer across the world to another computer, because the codes are universal, that means that if the code is some character of Chinese, it'll look the same. Yeah. So that's about communicating languages. When did the computers like the ones Zahid's got in front of him, when did that sort of stuff come out? What we call the
Personal
IBM
computers. Yeah.
IBM. Well, in a way,
Are you
your
talking about laptops or desktops?
laptops kind of came up slightly later, but it was easier to make a desktop.
I think the desktops came out in late 80s, early 90s, didn't they?
Early 80s.
Yeah.
Early 80s, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
That's when
So
Bill
that's-
Gates sort of popularized it.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. In fact, the Apple, the Mac, came out earlier.
Mm.
It used a different processor, and as far as IBM was concerned, because IBM made massive computers. I mean, the computers that I was brought up on are huge, costing millions of pounds. And IBM thought nobody's ever going to buy these little tiddly little laptopy things.
There was a
yeah?
quote from someone who was like quite high up in IBM. I think it might have been in the 1940s or 50s. He said there will only be a worldwide market for 6 computers.
That's right.
Because he was thinking about those big sort of
They
mainframe type.
Filled this little studio.
Yeah,
We've
yeah,
got
they're
about
massive.
5 minutes left here. This little studio probably wouldn't fit a whole computer. We had computers, we had network front ends, we had disks. There was so many things, and when the computers of the 90s really took off, they were water cooled.
Right.
There was so much power
Yeah.
being generated by computers. I used to go to Manchester University. The computers, we had computers there. We had a lot of computers there, yeah, some of which we sold out. The amount of heat that came out heated the building, heated the computer science building, and it also heated the maths block
Wow.
next to it. Yep.
It's
So
incredible.
that's how long computers.
Where was this? Which uni?
Manchester University.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So how long we got left?
We've got about 4 minutes left. I want to ask you a question now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
What's the difference between the internet and the World Wide Web?
Ooh.
Ooh,
Interesting.
God, you.
People talk about them, swap them over. What's the difference?
I think
Mm.
the World Wide Web is the sort of like front-facing, usable part of the internet, the user interface, as it were, whilst the internet is actually the physical infrastructure which connects different nodes on the network.
I think that's it because internet is networking internally, isn't it? That kind of thing. Yeah, that's what I think. And the world absolutely is. That's what I think. What do you think? Is that right, Raj?
Inter means between.
Okay.
Mm,
Yep. So international means between nations,
Yeah.
and the internet is the thing that connects computers together.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So when America got really worried about Russia,
Potential world war.
yeah, they did not want to have computers that, like, if they were bombed, the whole thing would collapse.
Yes.
So they started off with 4 computers, approximately 4 computers in 4 universities, and they joined them all together.
With the HTTP protocol.
No.
Okay.
That's way later.
Okay.
Right, so we're talking about the 70s. 69,
Oh, okay.
69, 70, 71 ish. Nobody really knows what the exact date is.
Mm.
The date that the first message was sent
Mm.
between computers, between
Interesting.
connected. Now you can connect computers, but you have to have them grouped.
Yeah.
So if you've got a bunch of computers, we call that like a domain.
Yeah.
When things started to become simpler, the universities connected more and more computers
Yeah.
to each other,
Mm.
and that is the internet. So the internet now, there are thousands of computers, millions in fact, that are all joined together in all meshed ways,
Yeah.
like a spider's web,
Yeah.
but we're still not talking about the World Wide Web yet.
Mm.
So that was the 70s. That was a way of communicating between computers, and there were different languages.
Yeah.
So one thing that we used to do back in the old days is email.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got its own language. File transfer,
Yeah.
that's got its own language. User boards, notice boards, that's got its own language.
Mm.
Yeah. And then a new language came out in 1992. And that language is called HTTP.
All right.
Yeah.
HTTP.
Hypertext markup language, HTML. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hypertext markup language, invented around about, released about 1992.
Still going strong, isn't it?
Yep, still going strong. Yeah, we've got about 1 minute left. So the HTTP, which is the protocol, that's the language that's carried over the internet.
Yeah.
Yep. So I always say to people, think of the internet like the railway,
Yes.
and think of the World Wide Web as the carriages that
Yes.
sits.
It's a good
on the-
analogy.
Yep. So that's what 30 seconds left here. So that is the difference between HTTP, which really is the language of the World Wide Web.
Wow.
The computers have to have a name. So the computers are usually called World Wide Web, www.
Yeah.
But the language between the computers and the user, that's HTTP. Okay, we've got 6 seconds left. Do you want to?
Yeah, guys, we'll be back in 5 minutes. So we're just off on a little break, so see you soon.